We've talked on the YouTube channel about Hitman and this franchise moving forward, guys. And you guys can check out all of my Hitman content here on the YouTube channel. But today, guys, in this segment of the show, I want to talk about everything that we know about the up-and-coming title Hitman 3. And I know many of us are very excited about this. I want to break it all down, and then we can talk about it. And I would love to have a real conversation with you guys in the comment section down below. So let's get into it. So guys, in an article written by Anthony Nash of Windows Central, step into the shoes of Agent 47. We've known for some time that IO Interactive was working on the follow-up to its latest Hitman reboot series. Now, though, we have our first official look at Hitman 3 and know much more about the game that will be launching early next year on Xbox Series X and many other platforms. The final game in the rebooted Hitman trilogy will once again put players in the shoes of Agent 47 and is set to feature a ton of different locations, disguises, and crazy ways to take down targets, as well as likely featuring some boosts in performance thanks to its releasing on next-gen platforms. So that's really exciting, guys. So what is Hitman 3? Well, Hitman 3 is the latest installment of the long-running Hitman series and the third entry in the trilogy of rebooted games under IO Interactive. Hitman 3 will also conclude the World of Assassination trilogy assembled over the recent years, which is really interesting to me, guys. You kind of wonder, how are they going to, finish up this trilogy, and how is it going to kind of move us into the next generation of Hitman, or are they going to be done altogether with the Hitman franchise? That is going to be a really interesting question that obviously we can't answer right now. So far, we've only received one trailer for Hitman 3, and in addition to this trailer, IO Interactive also showed off a very brief gameplay trailer centered around what players can do in Dubai. So what I'll say, guys, if you haven't seen the announcement trailer, you haven't seen the brief gameplay trailer, I would check those out. It looks like a really cool game, and I'm sure many of you who are big Hitman fans have already seen it and are probably pretty excited about it. I would love to know, though, if you're not excited about it from what you've seen so far, let me know why in the comment section down below. So what's the gameplay like? Well, much like the previous two Hitman entries, Hitman 3 we'll see players figuring out exactly how they want to eliminate a target and executing it in the very best way possible. In a blog post explaining more of the game, Tavis Barber, the senior community manager at IO Interactive, spoke about gameplay, saying that it encourages players to explore and interact with the game world in new ways that will reward them in future playthroughs, which is really interesting to say the least. Now, as far as the locations go, guys, there's a lot of locations here. We're talking, you're going to be able to go to the United Emirates, United Kingdom, China, Germany, Argentina, Romania, some really cool locations here that I think we should all be pretty excited about as well. Now, will Hitman 3 support 4K and 60 frames per second? So with the release of both the Xbox Series X and the PS5, fans may be wondering if Hitman 3 can properly harness the power of the new consoles. Thankfully, it seems as if they will be, as a new video released this week by IO shows off what the Glacier engine can do. According to the video, Hitman 3 is capable of having up to 300 NPCs active at once, and next-gen consoles and PC players will be able to enjoy the game in 4K resolution, 60 frames per second, and in HDR, which is really cool, guys. Ultimately, from what we've seen so far about the game, as far as from a graphical standpoint, it looks really good. And I think hopefully it's able to translate over to the, Xbox as well as the PlayStation. I think that, with these new consoles, I think they definitely will be powerful enough to run this game at a proper rate. Hopefully there's not like bugs and glitches. We've seen that happen just recently, of course, with the Cyberpunk 2077 release. This game doesn't seem like it's going to be quite as big and massive in scope as that of Cyberpunk 2077, but still, from what we've seen so far, it looks really, really good. Now, here's the interesting question that people in the community have been talking about. Does Hitman 3 support VR gameplay? So virtual reality, guys. During one of Sony's recent State of Plays, IO Interactive revealed that the Hitman trilogy, including the upcoming Hitman 3, would be playable in VR. According to a blog post shortly after, IO Interactive confirmed that Hitman 3 would be fully playable in VR, with VR support for every location from all three games coming to the series at some point. Currently, VR support will only be available in Hitman 3, with no plans to make a VR update for Hitman 1 or 3 in the works. So, what's interesting to me, guys, is that you're going to have VR or be able to play this game in VR. And, I've already said this many times. My one criticism of virtual reality or VR is when games are made specifically for VR and not put onto, consoles and PC and such. So an example of this would be Half-Life Alyx. I thought Half-Life Alyx was great, but at the same time, I would have loved to be able to play it on console or play it on PC. I think it would have really opened up just so much more opportunity for the game to get exposure and such. It forced everyone to get VR headsets, and many people didn't have them, and some people didn't buy the VR headset because they didn't want to necessarily make that big purchase to play Half-Life Alyx. So on the flip side of that, I've always said that have a VR game. If you're going to make a game, in virtual reality, also have it available on consoles and on PC and such, so that those who don't want to play it on VR can play it on consoles. And that seems like what they're doing here with Hitman 3, and I am 100% behind that. In a brand new Developer Insights video released, IO Interactive dove more into what Hitman 3 on VR might look like. The video also showcases the developers using a DualShock 4 controller to move about, which is something that senior game designer Eskil Mole confirmed in a Reddit AMA held this week. While the company hasn't ruled out Move support in the future, it seems that the company is happy with the hybrid control scheme on which they've landed. So it'll be really interesting, guys, to see, obviously the bullet points, the point of view, the new ways to play, the deeper immersion, and the blending in. Should be very interesting. Now, a big question here also is, what is the story, and what's the story so far here in Hitman 3? Not too much is known about the story in Hitman 3 so far, but IO Interactive did detail some on their website. Hitman 3 will be the dramatic conclusion to the world of the Assassination Trilogy. According to the studio, and will take players all over the world to 6 sandbox locations. Like Hitman 2, the newest game will launch in its entirety, meaning players won't have to wait for new chapters to release to finish the story. More information from IO Interactive also suggests that Agent 47s will be joining forces with long-lost ally Lucas Gray. According to the developers, their ultimate mission is to take down the partners of Providence, but things that happen along the way will force them to adapt. With this being the final entry in the trilogy, expect IO Interactive to pull out all the stops when it comes to delivering a thrilling conclusion. So I think that would be great. I want to see a great conclusion here, guys. Obviously, that's huge when we're talking about, when you're finishing up a trilogy. I'm just wondering, when we say a thrilling conclusion, do we want that to mean conclude the trilogy and conclude the franchise as a whole? Or are we saying conclude just this portion of the story, and maybe, Agent 47 passes the torch on to another agent or whatever the case might be, and there will be a new Hitman or spin-off, franchise in the making? That's something that I'm really interested to find out here with Hitman 3. Now, is Hitman 3 coming to Xbox One and PS4? Yes, not only is Hitman 3 coming to next-gen consoles, but it will also be releasing on current generation platforms as well. To make things even easier for players, IO Interactive has confirmed that players who own the original 2 games can import all 20-plus locations into Hitman 3, and if you play the entire trilogy within the Hitman 3, your progression will carry over. For example, if you unlock an item in Dubai, you can bring it with you to Paris for another mission, which is really awesome. And then Hitman 2 weapon progress and unlocks will also be carried over to Hitman 3, meaning that players who have done a ton of work in the past won't have to worry about not having the best gear when Hitman 3 launches. So that's really awesome, guys. My one question, though, is it coming out on Xbox One and PS4. That's great. I'm excited about that, but I hope that there's not a bunch of bugs and glitches like I was stating earlier with Cyberpunk 2077, massive problems. I'm hoping that we don't see that here with Hitman 3 as it comes out on the the older gen consoles, being Xbox One and PS4. So what's the release date? So Hitman 3 is currently set to release on January 20th, 2021. When it does launch, it will be available on Xbox Series X, Xbox One, PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, and PC. So I gotta say, guys, I'm really, really excited about, Hitman 3 and what this could look like. I mean, we're not gonna have to wait very long to get our hands on a copy of this game, and I'm really excited to see what the conclusion of it's going to be. I would love to see a, multiplayer co-op modes. There's so many different things I would love to see, even if they're added later on, kind of like what's happened with Cyberpunk 2077 or what's happening even with The Last of Us Part 2, adding multiplayer and all of that, just to kind of keep you coming back to the game over and over again. I have a lot of high hopes, guys, for Hitman 3. And I am very excited about it. I'll be sure to give you guys more information as it comes out and as we start talking about spoilers and things of that nature after this game releases. I'm really excited about it. But let me know, guys, in the comment section down below, are you guys really excited about Hitman 3? And what are you guys hoping to see in this game? And what do you hope to see in the future of the Hitman franchise? Let me know in the comment section down below. And for more Hitman 3 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV.